So what were kind of your experiences working on this documentary?
So my experiences, it was overall amazing. I got to interview most of the people like Mr. Moore and Simone, and I got to be interviewed for the documentary, which was great. Like, it was kind of hard to imagine in the beginning, like, what it would become, but I think overall in the end, like, it just became such a beautiful project that we all completed together.
I think it was a good experience. It's cool people. I think it's a cool message. This whole program's great, and I had a great time with it. I got interviewed. I didn't have to do any interviewing, but I helped like pick some clips out, and it was really low stress, but at the same time it was like, if we get this done right, it can be something really big. So
right.
Yeah, I think it was great.
So how do you guys think the impact differs with this documentary, with the subject matter coming from young people as opposed to adults?
I think a lot of times that when things come from youth, a lot of people notice it or take it more seriously, because a lot of times they're like, oh, this is an adult thing, like this is an adult's business, kids shouldn't be worried about this. But when people see that kids are worried about it and kids know that it's an issue, then they start to take it seriously. And I think that when it comes from young people, it's more valuable to older people, because they see like, this isn't just an us thing. Like, kids notice. They're not just like kids who just play video games all day, and like it kind of breaks those stereotypes, and it shows like, no, kids are listening and we're going to be the change.
So what are some things adults can do to help young people's ideas and thoughts feel validated?
To listen to kids. Honestly, so many times we believe that like children should be seen and not heard, and that's just not true. There have been so many instances in history where children or young people have been the causes for change and things like that. Like, so many of the things that we know today were because young people were doing them. Not to say that like adults weren't helping too, but young people are so influential. And so I'd say as an adult, what you can do is like support young people, like listen to them, listen to their stories, because I know the issues that we're facing today are important. Like, no other generation had to go through this as much as all this stuff. Like, we're the generation that's seeing all the repercussions of our parents' generations and our grandparents' generations and how their actions affected us. And so I'd say listen to kids, believe them, take them seriously, and know that their voices are valid, and try to support those voices and amplify them.
I definitely think there is something to be said about social media in today, and how fast news can spread, and how much of a like control over an audience you can have with the big social media following. I think that definitely listening to kids is important, just because we're living through this stuff, you know, like we're living through it right now, and these are really challenging times for everybody. So taking in our stories and our ideas into consideration is just important, I feel like.
So kind of going off of that almost, like what are some ways that you feel young people can take steps toward making a change, not just for themselves, but for their peers or their community, like with things like social media? Like, what are some things that they can do kind of to steer that change in a direction that they would like to see?
Getting together with other young people, like as many quotes say, there is strength in numbers. And I think that by young people coming together, and Gen Z being the most socially active generation, when Gen Z works with other Gen Zers, no matter differences or like slight different like opinions, things like that, we're so powerful together. And I think at the end of the day, we're more alike than we are different, and we should realize that and utilize that, because we can all find common ground. And common ground was actually the foundation for this documentary, between Bexley High School and Cape Columbus. And I think that Gen Z can like get like young activists can get started by getting together with more young activists and looking out and reaching out, because there's so many resources and opportunities for them to be involved.
Yeah, I definitely think grouping together with like-minded people can create change. I mean, that's how a lot of movements started. It's just people with the same ideas who want the same common goal, working together and working to achieve that goal. And I think that just through talking and just having shared experiences, we can really push for something.
So were there any like big takeaways you guys had, or things you learned during the making of this documentary? Things about like community, yourself, or even just like the process of putting something like this together? So
one of my favorite forms of media or film is documentaries, and so I've always wanted to like make a documentary, and like I always watch like all the documentaries that are nominated for Oscars and things like that. So, and that's like one of my favorite ways to learn. And so I'd say one thing I learned is that like your dreams are never too hard to grasp. Like, I used to think like, oh, that's something that you have to have like money for it to be good. Like, it has to have like so much work put into it and things like that. And then like this filming, they show me like, yes, that's true, you do have to put in work, but you don't need to have like $1 million budget or things like that. You can have a purpose and passion, and then that's really all you need. And I think that applies not just for the documentary, but many people's dreams as well.
Well, I think that when a group of like-minded people with a common goal come together, we can create something really special.
All right. Were there any like final thoughts or anything you guys wanted to add?
No.
Okay. That's all I got.
All right, cool. Kevin wasn't even listening.